It's the return of the living late uploads. Yep, got another late upload today. Well, this time, I can't blame my shitty internet connection, since that wasn't what was at fault today. Instead, today was rather busy, so obviously I didn't have a lot of time to write down the official script or anything, but hey, at least you're getting it now. Longlegs is a 2024 crime horror film written and directed by Osgood Perkins, who I recently found out is the son of Anthony Perkins of Psycho fame, which was kind of some cool trivia to find out. Also, this director also did The Black Coat's Daughter, which I reviewed for 31 Nights back in 2019. The film stars Micah Monroe, Blair Underwood, Nicolas Cage, among others. It is said to be one of the scariest films to come out recently, so let's stop beating around the bush and get started. The premise of Longlegs centers on Special Agent Lee Harker, that is, played by Monroe, a young FBI agent who is assigned to assist with a case surrounding a dangerous cryptic killer who goes by the name of Longlegs, played by Nicolas Cage. Now, despite his presence being obvious at all the scenes, there are still no any signs of forced entry at any of them. No fingerprints, and the only person truly doing any of the killings are members of the family, seemingly. Yet, somehow, Longlegs is still heavily involved. This is especially evident when they find letters at the crime scenes Longlegs had apparently left behind. How did he manage to get those people to kill? And why wasn't there any sign of forced entry? Is he working with an accomplice? Or is something more sinister afoot? Now, there was a lot that this story had going on, but thankfully it doesn't cause it to start being boring or any of the sort, or too confusing. In fact, it actually piqued my curiosity. Like, there was just so many fascinating things that were unraveled that helped keep me hooked on the overall story. Like how it's heavily implied that Special Agent Lee Harker has psychic abilities, or what exactly happened the day before her 9th birthday, or how Longlegs is influencing these murders seemingly without lifting a finger. These were all things that made the film a lot more interesting, since it made me kind of ponder on how exactly that all of this could be involved with Longlegs' plan. And while it might have gotten confusing here and there, the film does eventually explain everything while still leaving a lot open for us to interpret. And the storyline just keeps unraveling. There's just so much about the main character that keeps getting dropped on us now and then, as well as her mother, that it really just adds some layers to them, given that a lot of the stuff that is unraveled really reveals some very deep and often very traumatizing backstory. I give plot an A. Hard to follow, but thankfully it all wraps up with a clear answer, while still leaving some stuff up to the viewer. Next is acting. Acting in this movie was pretty damn solid. I don't think I have a single complaint about anyone's performance. Micah Monroe brought a very relatable one to her character. I feel like a lot of us can identify with, and thus made her performance somewhat more realistic. Especially with the fear she exhibits, given that I feel like quite a few of us would be just as nervous and tense as she is working on a case like that. And Blair Underwood interacted off of her amazingly. Like, you could tell he was her supervisor or whatever, given how you would talk to her sometimes. But it is also evident in his performance that he truly does care for Harker, not as a person and not just an FBI agent. And that aspect of his performance truly gave his character some serious riz. But Nicolas Cage's Longlegs, holy shit. I won't say much, but I will say that there were some parts where I found myself chuckling at his performance here and there, especially when he starts to sing. But the menacing presence he had just from being in the room overshadowed the even lighter moments with him. Seriously, even if you don't like horror, watch it for Nicolas Cage's performance alone. He is funny here and there, but still manages to be a truly menacing threat. I give acting an A+. I seriously have nothing that I would add that would make the performances better. Now, cinematography in this film definitely gave it a very dreary and gloomy tone. Almost every shot was framed perfectly, and the lighting for each one helped to emphasize the melancholy tone of the overall movie. Like, the way Andreas framed some of these shots is so perfectly aligned that it's obvious some careful planning went into each one. I give cinematography an A+. There was just a lot of thought that went into it, and it shows given how perfectly symmetrical a lot of these shots are. Finally, directing. There is a seriously ominous tone throughout this entire film, and I feel like part of that has to do with the way these scenes are planned. They are lighted very dimly to bring out a gloomy feel more. There is so much haunting imagery, especially involving dolls, that Osgood Perkins scares you with, not necessarily by having them jump at you screaming, but rather just having them be there, as if to say, "Yep, here it is. It was here the whole time, watching you." Which made it extra creepy given that the overall subtlety wasn't trying too hard to frighten you, which managed to make it leave more of an impact as opposed to something that lets you know you're supposed to be scared by jumping out at you. Which, well, this film does have some moments of that, but the dark mood of the film overall more than makes up for it. I had such a creepy, skin-crawling feeling watching this film, and I feel like a good part of that was due to the dreary atmosphere present in the story. I give directing an A+. Osgood Perkins is starting to make a name for himself in the world of horror, and I really am looking forward to seeing what he does next. Overall, Longlegs is a truly stylish mark in the horror genre that has Osgood's fingerprints all over it. It had some very amazing and perfectly lined shots that helped make them more satisfying to the eye, even when things got creepy. It had some haunting imagery, and I still have not stopped thinking about it, and probably won't for a while. I give Longlegs an A+. Aside from the settled down instrumentals that happen sometimes, it did not try too hard to frighten you, which in turn made it more effective since the horror came more from the overall threat Longlegs held, along with the idea that his presence could be anywhere. I hope you enjoyed, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and sub for more content.